Welcome back guys to another Super Nintendo collection video. In this week's video, as promised, I'm going to showcase all of my North American boxed Super Nintendo games. Now, as you know, if you've been following this channel, I will pick up pretty much anything if it's going cheap, as I am a collector. But I do like to play and try and play most of them if I can. But this year's been an extremely busy year with me, what with Skyscraper Project. And I've picked up quite a lot early in the year that I haven't managed to play yet. So there's a lot of games here I won't be able to comment on. But the ones that I have played and I do know a lot about, I will do a little brief description of. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. It's going to be quite a long because there's 150 games. So strap yourself in.
Super Nintendo Entertainment Center unleashes the power. Use willfully to control. Experience it for yourself. Next generation from Nintendo. Now you're playing with super power.
Right guys, it is fireworks night here in the UK, so if you hear any bangs or screams, don't worry, it's only Mr. Guy Fawkes himself getting his annual blow-up ceremony at Westminster. So I'll try my best to get through this. So starting off with a true classic is ActRaiser. Finished this game back in the day and I still delve into it now and again, but I haven't finished it since. It is a true classic guys. This is fantastic side-scrolling platform and action game with some fantastic music, brilliant end-of-level bosses, sprite animation, absolute must for your collection. ActRaiser 2, curious to pick this up obviously because the first one was so good. Unfortunately they cut the God Simulation part out of the game and just made it into a side-scrolling action game, which you'd think would be quite cool, but unfortunately it's a little bit clunky. But looks really cool. Super Mario All-Stars, all 3 NES games on your Super Nintendo revamped with the lost levels, a must for your Super Nintendo collection. Addams Family Values, haven't played too much of this one guys to comment. Alien vs Predators, an average game, a poor port of the arcade version which was absolutely amazing, one of my favourite arcade games. Still, it's not a bad game. Aero the Acrobat, haven't played too much of guys, but it's got some nice Mode 7 and some nice action platforming elements to it. Breath of Fire, haven't played this, it's an RPG. Battletoads in Battle Maniacs, played a little bit of this, wasn't that impressed to be honest with you. I guess I didn't like the theme. Capcoma Night in Busyland. I absolutely love this game. If any of you are familiar with Volfoid or Kicks in the arcade, it plays exactly the same. Just cuter graphics. Just great pick up and play game. Really is great fun. Really enjoyed this. Real surprise for me. Bill Lambert's Combat Basketball. Had a lot of fun with this game. Sports game with combat, what else do you want? Best of the Best Karate, do love my boxing games. This is more of a kickboxing game though, really enjoyed this, great fun. Biometal, a really good side-scrolling shoot 'em up. Some fantastic graphics, not too much slowdown either, but unfortunately really annoying music with 2 Unlimited with doing the soundtrack. If you can pick up a copy of this, try and pick up the Japanese version if you can. Tiny Toons, Buster Loose, not my type of game at all, it's just a platforming game. Bomberman 2, a must for the Super Nintendo collection, great party game, you all must know what Super Bomberman's like, it's just a load of fun, just absolutely great. Boxing Legends in the Ring. Haven't played too much of this game, but I'm dying to play this game because it's right up my street and it's had some fantastic reviews in every magazine. It's just supposed to be a really good boxing game. Clay Fighter, a fighting game with kind of rendered graphics. Alright for 5 minutes, after that I get really bored. Looks really cool, but it's a bit boring to be honest with you. Congo Caper, which is basically Joe and Mac 2 in the Japanese region. This is a great little platforming game with some beautiful sprite animation, and some fantastic level design. Really enjoyed this. Cybernator, game I owned back in the day. This is a classic, a must for your collection. Great shooting, side-scrolling action game, great music, sprites are unbelievable. Just an absolute must for your collection, guys, it really is. Right guys, next up is Chuck Rock. This is quite a funny game, bit of humour to this game, big sprite animations, lovely little platformer, really enjoyed this. Had this back in the day, Castlevania 4, what can I say, it's an absolute classic platformer game. Some amazing Mode 7 moments in it where you're trying to, where the room's spinning around and you're trying to grab hold of bits with your whip, trying to hang on in there in the game. It's just an incredible game, a great platforming game with some fantastic end of level bosses with some amazing music. What can I say, it is an absolute must for your collection. Arcade port of Captain Commando, which I absolutely love. Play through this every now and again, really enjoy it. I like the characters, the little baby and the robot. He's always good fun to play as. It's a great side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's a great game to own, guys. It really, really is. This is a favourite of mine, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee. And they really did a fantastic job of creating Bruce Lee in this game with all his characteristics, his screaming, his fighting techniques, his style. It's just a great game and it's quite tactical, so I really, really enjoy this. That's Bruce Lee, Dragon Story. Doom, I enjoyed back in the day on the PC, but unfortunately I don't think this is a great port, to be honest with you. It's got a nice red cart though, which is quite fancy. Yeah, that is Doom. It's got the FX chip as well. D-Force, which is just a mediocre shooter for the Super Nintendo. It's alright, if you like your shooters you'll get some enjoyment out of it, but nothing too special, nothing to write home about. Another classic, Desert Strike. I first experienced this game on the Mega Drive, my brother's Mega Drive, and I don't think there's much difference in the Super Nintendo version, to be honest with you, but it is a classic game, still enjoyable to go back and play. This is actually a PAL game, but I've got to show it. It's Archie McLean's Drop Zone, so if you love Defender you're going to love this because it's a lot easier, there's not so many buttons. I think it's an absolutely brilliant game. Very atmospheric space game shooter. It's Archie McLean's Drop Zone, really enjoy that. Earth Defense Force, quite a good side-scrolling shooter. I really enjoyed this with hardly any slowdown. Yeah, it's pretty good. I really enjoy this. That's Earth Defense Force. We've got Earthworm Jim, which is a really quirky platforming game. Loads of humour, great fun to play, great sprite animations, a must for your collection. You've got to get this, guys, it is good fun. Empire Strikes Back. Obviously Super Star Wars was the first game I played. I didn't own this back in the day, but I played this recently and it's rock hard. I know the first one was hard, but this one is even harder. But the film Empire Strikes Back has got to be the best Star Wars film, isn't it? So I had to pick this up. It's a great mixture of platforming, shooting and racing games, driving games. You've got a little snow racer, whatever you want to call it there. And you've got, you know, inside the cockpit here. It is a great game, but it's just so rock hard, guys. This is a game I played back in the day. I was a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. Bit of a difficult game to go back to today because it's so involved. There's so much depth to this game, but it is, if you love Dungeons and Dragons, those kind of first-person adventures with loads of pickups, loads of infantry items to pick up and change around. You're going to love this, but it's difficult for me to go back to this sort of game because things have moved on so much. What with Skyrim and stuff like that, it's a hard game to go back to. But look at the box art, guys. Got to love that. The beholder there, absolutely brilliant. Next up is an earlier release for the Super Nintendo. It's F-Zero, an absolute classic racer. With some fantastic Mode 7. Music so memorable. Everyone remembers the music to F-Zero. And must-be collection, guys. Fatal Fury 2 is a really good fighter. A Neo Geo game. I really enjoy this. I think this is great fun. Gradius 3. Fantastic game, but unfortunately it does suffer from a lot of slowdown, but it does look amazing. I mean, the slowdown can actually benefit your gameplay. If you're not that great at shooters, it can benefit you. You know, a little bit of slowdown helps you along the way. I mean, it is a good game, guys. It just suffers from quite a lot of slowdown, unfortunately. Hook platform game, I haven't played that much of. I think I played probably 5 or 10 minutes of it. Wasn't that impressed, but maybe I should give it a little bit more time. Next up is Iron Commando. This is actually a fan-based game which only came out in Japan, but it's made for the American collectors. So it's not reproduction. It's made on an American cart, so it's a pretty cool side-scrolling beat-em-up. Quite enjoyed this. That's Iron Commando. And Judge Dredd, which I've had so much fun playing this game. This is a action. It's not really platforming. It is an action exploration game, a bit like Metroid. It's kind of got Metroid elements to it. I really enjoy this. I really do. I've had a lot of fun, and it's great atmosphere as well. So that's that lot. I'm going to put that lot back and go and grab a load more. Next up is Joe and Mac. As you can tell by the cover, big bold graphics, great little platforming game with a little bit of humour thrown in. This is a lot of fun, guys. Killer Instinct. This is Nintendo's last hurrah in the arcades. This is a great port to the Super Nintendo. It is an action. This is a fighting game with superimposed graphics, which was quite a big thing back in those days. Looked really amazing when it came out. Not as good as Street Fighter, but still you get a lot of fun out of this if you're into fighting games. Kirby's Avalanche, which is a Tetris clone, so if you like Tetris you get a lot of fun out of this. Knights of the Round, which is a fantastic side-scrolling beat-em-up. Really enjoyable game. As you can see there, guys, really cool. That's Knights of the Round. King of Monsters, which I haven't played. I've played the arcade version, but I haven't played the Super Nintendo version. King Arthur's World. Actually, this is another PAL game that slipped into this video. Unfortunately, this is the last PAL one. And I've kept hold of this because it's still got my Mad Andy's sticker on there, the local shop where I used to buy my games, so I've kept on to this. This is one of the last PAL games I got left when I sold my PAL collection. But this is a great game. If you like Lemmings, you're going to like this. It's got a medieval setting, so you're controlling your armies and you've got to battle through, you know, the castles to get in there, all the battlements. It's a really good fun game, and it uses the mouse as well, which is quite cool. Lagoon, which is an RPG. I haven't played this, guys. Jim Power, Lost Dimension. Well, I had high hopes for this because the graphics on this look absolutely amazing. Loads of parallax scrolling going on in the background. It looks amazing, guys, honestly. And you even get 3D glasses that go with this. But unfortunately, it's so clunky. It plays so badly. It's so rock hard and frustrating that you give up within sort of 10 minutes. But it does look amazing. Just unfortunately, just doesn't play that well. Big Lord of the Rings fan. This is an RPG, but I haven't played this yet, guys. But I do like Lord of the Rings. We've got Lost Vikings 2. I haven't got Lost Vikings, the first one, yet, so this is the second one. So this is like a puzzle game where you've got 3 characters that you can swap between that sort of help you get you through the levels because they've got different abilities. But it's a really good game, a lot of fun. Lethal Weapon. Got a lot of these games back in the day on the Super Nintendo era, sort of a lot of movie tie-ins. It's alright, it's an average action game, but I wouldn't write it off that much, you know. It's not bad. This is, if I can pronounce this right, Mayasua, the classic Japanese tale of horror. This is really cool, side-scrolling platform action game. Really enjoyed this. Must go back to this and spend some more time in it because I did enjoy this. Oh, this is a classic. Legend of Mystical Ninja. What a game, guys. You've got to pick this up for your collection. It's a great mix of action, RPG, great story. It's just a fantastic game. You must pick this up. Legend of Mystical Ninja. Mortal Kombat 3. Nintendo seemed to get a little bit better at porting these games later on in their life, because obviously the first one didn't have the blood, but then number 2 did, and they just got better. And I think this is a great game, Mortal Kombat 3, and it's a great for a quick blast with your mates. Super Mario Kart. God, I must have played this to death with my brother. Me and my brother were so evenly matched that you couldn't put a razor blade between us. It was so tight. We got so good at this game. It is an absolute classic. I used to say this was the best Super Mario Kart of all time up until the Switch version came out, the recent one, which has got the battle game in it, and that is unbelievable. But until then, this was the king of Mario Kart. But unfortunately, the Switch version has now taken the crown. But still a good game to go back to. This is a good port of the arcade game by Capcom. It's Magic Sword. So it's a platforming action game where you get to control, as you get deeper into the game, loads of different characters that you can swap between. I think it's a good game. It's great music and great level design. Really, really enjoy this. Magic Sword. Next up is Mega Man X. I must play this. I haven't played this yet. In fact, I haven't played that many Mega Man games, and I've picked this up, and I have to play this because I've heard so many good things. I don't know whether this is the best Mega Man version on the SNES, but it's the only one I have, so I've got to play this. The others are so expensive. I think this is probably the cheapest one you can buy on the SNES. That's probably why I picked it up, but I've heard so many good things about this. Mickey Mania, The Timeless Adventures of Mickey Mouse. Amazing graphics on this. It's a platforming game, but I haven't played that much to comment really, guys. Right, let's put this lot back and go and grab a load more. Right, next up is Ms. Pac-Man, my preferred version of Pac-Man. This is actually a really good port onto Super Nintendo. It's probably one of the last games that was released on the Super Nintendo. NHL Hockey, 93. Haven't played much of this at all, but it's another sports game, I think, with combat elements to it, which hockey does have in real life anyway. So this game here, Ninja Warriors, you've probably heard me mention a few times in my videos. An absolute classic, brilliant game. It's kind of like a one-tier side-scrolling beat-em-up. So you're just fighting on one level instead of being able to move up and down. So it's very similar to Kung Fu Master, the classic arcade game. But you get to choose between 3 robot ninjas, which is absolutely awesome. I absolutely love this game. It's by Taito as well, which is cool. Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. This is a really good racing game, actually. And of course, it's got our fellow Brit Nigel Mansell. So I had to pick this up. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Absolutely love this basketball game. I don't think there's been a basketball game to beat this, except for the N64 version is really, really good. But this is absolutely brilliant. On the Ball. How can you explain this? It's a puzzle game, I guess. You've just got a little ball and the screen rotates around the ball, so you've got to get the ball. A bit like Monkey Ball. It's a bit like a Monkey Ball, but it's top down, I guess. You know, that's the only way I can describe it. It's a puzzle game with a ball. Out of This World. Well, this was a really cool game. I played this on the Mega Drive back in the day. This was really ahead of its time. Very cinematic effects, with a kind of like a very atmospheric storyline behind it. It was really different when it came out. I mean, we've never played anything like this. So many games like this around today, but back then this was really new. Really good game, well worth owning for the Super Nintendo. Outlander, I don't know, I quite like this. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I guess it's a stupid game, but the music's quite cool. I don't know, after a few beers it's quite fun, I guess. Super Off-Road, the classic arcade game. It's not a bad port, ain't brilliant, but still rather play the arcade version, but still, it's not bad. God, what's this game here? I don't even remember picking this up. Poco's Modern Life. Don't know anything about this game. Don't even remember where I picked this up, to be honest with you. Phalanx, the classic game with this box cover art that always gets attention, and I think that is what the developers' intentions were, and whether they got attention back in the day because of this box art, or whether just people passed it by, because it's got to be the worst box art ever made, but it seems to get a lot of videos because of it. So they did one good thing. They did get the attention of a lot of people today with this game. It is not a bad side-scrolling shooter. It's not bad at all, definitely above average. It's a really cool shooter actually. I've had a lot of fun with this, and it's had a great port to the Game Boy Advance as well. Porky Pigs, I haven't even opened this, still sealed, don't know anything about this game. Plock, well, it's just a classic platformer, a really cutesy platformer, which is a lot of fun, a must for your collection, guys. Primal Rage, another, I think this was an arcade game. I'm not sure who released it in the arcades, but it's not bad actually. It's not a bad little fighter. Again, it's got that rendered graphics, those superimposed graphics, which is quite cool for back in the day. Quite a new thing. It's alright actually, don't mind that game. Super R-Type, which is basically a port of R-Type 2 from the arcade. We never got the original R-Type on the Super Nintendo. This is quite good, but it does suffer from a lot of slowdown. I enjoy it though, because I'm a big R-Type fan. But the real R-Type game to get for the Super Nintendo is R-Type 3, because this game only came out on the Super Nintendo. It was developed solely for the Super Nintendo, and man, does this game rock. Man, this has got to be one of my favourite shoot 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. Hardly any slowdown. Amazing Mode 7. Just a fantastic shooter, guys. A must own for your collection. It really is one of my favourite shooting games on the Super Nintendo. Another arcade port, which is Raiden Trad, or Raiden on the arcade, or Raiden Fighters. It's not a bad port, not brilliant either. It's got all the music from the arcade game, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same as the arcade. But still, it's not a bad shooter, above average shooter I would say, for the Super Nintendo, vertical shooter. And God, this game is awful. RoboCop. Played about 5 minutes of this, didn't get anywhere, didn't like it, thought it was absolute pants, absolute rubbish. So that's that lot. Let's go and grab another load. Right, day 2. Can't film this all in one day, you're kidding me, ain't you? Right, recent pickup, Revolution X scope game. Recent pickup, so I haven't played this, guy, so I can't comment on it, but it's got the music from Aerosmith. Radical Rex, a platform game with dinosaurs on skateboards. All the rage back in the 90s, so I guess they had to use all of those elements. The gameplay is okay. I've played a little bit, but not enough really to comment. It's okay. It's a bit mediocre, to be honest with you. Next up is a favourite game of mine. I played this in the arcade originally. The arcade game is actually quite rare. It has a trackball, which is probably the best way to play this game, but actually this is a really good port onto Super Nintendo, and it has to be played 2 players. So it's a little bit like Tetris, but it's a little bit more tactical. So you've got a little castle, and you've got to build a little fort around the castle with the blocks that they give you, which are all different shapes. So you've got to kind of match them all up to build a complete wall. And then the next round, you're getting bombarded by a load of ships at sea that are firing cannons at you. And then you've got to rebuild your fort again in a time limit. And it's brilliant to play, guys. I really enjoy Rampart. It's a great game. Street Fighter Turbo. The ultimate Street Fighter game to have on the Super Nintendo. And Street Fighter 2, which for me was the system seller. I remember seeing this in the shop window when I was waiting for a bus in Dixon's. They had it running on the console. And, I used to go down the arcades to play this. I was no good. I was getting beaten by loads of young kids that were up and coming. But you know what? I thought I'd get good at it by taking this home with me and playing it at home in my own time, And I did. I got really good at it with my brother because we were evenly matched. And it's such a great game. And this really did sell the console for me. It was such an amazing game, and it still is to this day. And my preferred way of playing Street Fighter. Super Tennis, another brilliant game. I love this game. Again, I played this a lot with my brother. We were so good at this game. Every little point made a difference, and it went right down to the wire every single time. Still, for me, my favourite tennis game of all time. I really, really enjoy this. Another brilliant game, Secret of Mana, which I completed back in the day. Absolutely beautiful RPG with some beautiful music, and I love the fact that it's an action RPG instead of turn-based. I like that. I prefer that than the turn-based RPGs like Final Fantasy. Absolutely gorgeous game, incredible game. I really did enjoy this back in the day. I remember finishing just thinking, wow, that was awesome. Really, really enjoyed that. Sky Blazer. I haven't played too much of this, guys, but it is a platform action game. Some really cool Mode 7. Looks great. It's had fantastic reviews. Must go back to this. Baseball, Super Baseball 2020. I think this is a Neo Geo port, which I've played and I've really enjoyed this. It's a baseball game, obviously, but it's very arcade in feel. Not too much of a simulation, which I find quite boring, but this is a lot of fun. What I've played of it, which is not that much, only about half an hour, but I did enjoy this. Space Invaders for the Super Nintendo, which is a must. You've got all the different versions on there. Space Invaders 2, Deluxe, and you've got all the different, you've got the black and white version, the colour version, you've got the mirror version with a half mirror. Excuse me. It's just absolutely great, and there's also a two-player game in here as well, so you can play against another player, which is great. I love Space Invaders. I own the cabinet, so I'm bound to love this. Sim City, still sealed, haven't played. Not a game I probably would play today either, but this was a game that was released when the console was launched, and a lot of people enjoyed it. Super Star Wars, a brilliant game, fantastic platformer. I owned this back in the day. I really enjoyed it. The music's incredible, very cinematic, but it does get quite hard quite quickly. Spin Dizzy, this one is sealed, but I do own the loose cart, and I really enjoy this actually. It's a bit like Marble Madness. It's a great little game. Samurai Showdown, which is a Neo Geo port with 32 meg carts. Plays really good, but it hasn't got that kind of zooming in and out effect like the Neo Geo had, probably asking a little bit too much of the Super Nintendo. But still, it plays alright for a fighter. It still holds the atmosphere. I really enjoyed this. Stunt Race FX. Really difficult game to go back to. I don't think this is dated well at all. I think it looks awful. I think it plays badly. It's got the FX chip, which was the rage back then. You know, this was all new polygons then, don't forget, guys. I mean, they were experimenting. And back then, we probably thought this was good because we'd never seen anything like it. We had nothing else to compare it with. So this got quite good reviews back in the day, but you go back to it now, I think it's really poor. I really do. Now this is a good FX game. This is Star Fox or Star Wing. Brilliant game. I think it's still good to go back to. I can play through it quite easily. I really enjoyed this back in the day. It's an absolute classic. But unfortunately, you know, that there hasn't been many good Star Fox games prior to this, really. Okay, the N64, people could argue the At Wars, but I still think this is probably the best one. Smart Ball, absolute pants, rubbish. Don't even buy it. It's absolute garbage of a game. Don't know why I picked that up. That's just me. I'll pick anything up. Secret of Mana 2, recent pickup. This is a fan-based made game for the US market. This only got a Japanese release, so this company have made a fan-based game for the ntsc collectors, which is pretty cool, and I'm really looking forward to playing this because obviously I love the first Secret of Mana. Right, that's all the S and the T's and the R's. Let's go and grab another load, take this lot back. You're doing well, guys, to hang in there that long. I tell you, it's a lot of games to get through. So we'll have a little break, have a little breather. So I've got some ice cream with lashings of toffee sauce on there. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, I've got a sweet tooth, guys. That is good. Look at that. Oh, I do like ice cream with toffee sauce. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. Anyway, on with the games. So good. Right, the next game. Next game. It's going to be a real shock to you guys, I'll tell you, because this game I picked up on a whim. Typical me. I mean, I pick up games sometimes for the cover art, because that's how I've been brought up. All the games that I brought on the Sinclair Spectrum, we didn't know any reviews, didn't have YouTube back in the day, so we literally brought the games on the box art, and I still do that today. It's just embedded in me, you know. If I see some cool box art, I've got to pick the game up and just see what it's like, and this was one of them. Spanky's Quest. Just so turns out that it is an excellent game. If you like Bubble, you're going to like this. It's a platforming game with that kind of bubble mechanic. Really enjoyed this game. It's got a very cool arcade feel about it. It's just a lot of fun and very charming little game. Really enjoyed that. Dirt cheap as well. The Simpsons, Bart's Nightmare. Haven't played enough of this, guys, to comment, but it looks really cool. And of course, it's a Simpsons, so it's a great theme. Next up is Super Smash TV, an arcade port onto Super Nintendo. This is really a twin stick shooter, so you need 2 joysticks to play this game, and it has to be played in the arcade. I mean, it's Eugene Jarvis at his best, you know. Continuation on from Robotron. It's a good port, but really you need 2 sticks to play this game. But, you know, it is good fun on Super Nintendo. Next up is Turricane, Super Turricane. Brilliant game, run and gun game, very similar to Contra. I absolutely love playing this game. Can't wait to get number 2, although it's very expensive. This was by Factor 5, who did Road Squadron as well for the N64. Brilliant company. Absolutely fantastic game. Thunder Spirits, or Thunder Force 3, I think it is, on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive. I really like this game. It does suffer from slowdown, but the music apparently is a lot better on Super Nintendo, but the gameplay is better on the Mega Drive because obviously it hasn't got the slowdown. Because obviously the Super Nintendo's got an inferior chip, processing chip, but the music sound chip on the SNES is a lot better, so obviously the music's better. So whatever you prefer, gameplay or sound, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it works both ways, you know. But this is a cool game, really cool game. Timber and Bumper's Jungle Games, absolute pile of dog shit. It's rubbish. It's 4 mini games like Frogger, Space Invaders and Pinball. It's just absolute rubbish. It really is. Cashing in on the cartoon by Disney. Top Gear. It's funny. I played Top Gear 2. That's the game I'm going to show you next. And that's the game I've only ever played. So I never really played this one until recently. And it's not as good as Top Gear 2, but still a great race and probably quite impressive when this came out. As I say, Top Gear 2 is the one to get. Brilliant music. In fact, some of the music I use for my channel. A game that me and my brother played to death. Absolutely love this game. I just love the fact that it's got that whole risk reward element with the turbo boosts that you only get a certain amount of. Just choosing when the right place to do them in is key to winning this game. Absolutely brilliant game and love to play it to this day. It holds up so well. One of my favourite races on the Super Nintendo. Turtles in Time, a really good side-scrolling beat 'em up with the Turtles theme, obviously. Some really cool mode 7 effects in the game. Next up is Tetris 2. Does what it says on the tin. It's Tetris basically, but I haven't really played that. TKO Super Championship Boxing. I think I showed you this in my last video. It's got to be the worst boxed game I've ever picked up. It's got no end to it. But I haven't played this yet to comment, but it looks really cool. If you like a sort of Barry McGuigan sort of game, boxing game. Tin Star, this is a lot of fun. Surprise hit for me. It's sort of like a crosshair shooting game, so it's best played with a light gun or scope or mouse. But it is a lot of fun. It's cowboy themed, some great music and some lovely graphics. Really enjoyed that. Troddlers, which is basically like a Lemmings clone. Best used or best played with the mouse. Uni Racers, which I think is a in-house Nintendo game. I haven't played this yet, guys, and I don't know why I haven't played this, but I did get good reviews back in the day. I think it's like a racing game, but you're on a unicycle. Utopia, which is like a god sim. Haven't played this, but I have fired it up and I've enjoyed the music so far. That's about it. Vortex, another Super FX chip game. This is not too bad. It's a lot better than Stunt Race FX, but still, it's still a bit clunky. It still struggles, and it's quite hard to go back to, obviously, because it's very early polygon graphics. WF Raw. This is a really fun wrestling game. Really enjoyed this. Wing Commander. What can you describe this? Just like a space shooter with sort of RPG elements, I guess, to it, with a storyline. But I haven't played much of it. What I did play, wasn't that impressed with. Vegas States, which is just basically gambling games. Wario Woods, which is a really cool Tetris clone. I've really enjoyed playing this, and a great theme as well of Mr. Wario himself. Wolfchild, action platform game. Really enjoyed this game, actually. Really, really good. Not a very good example of a boxed version though, but still want to go back to this game. Super WrestleMania, probably my favourite wrestling game on the Super Nintendo. Had a lot of fun with this. Wings Aces High. This is a flight simulation game. Quite impressive back in the day, but doesn't look so great now. Quite hard to go back to. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, which is a action game. I haven't played this, guys, so can't comment on that one at all. Zombies Ate My Neighbours. What can I say? Had so much fun with this back in the day. Still go back and play it today as well. It's a lot harder than I remember it. I don't know, the difficulty level just ramps up really quickly. I think I've managed to get to about level 34 or something like that. I think there's only 44 levels. So I ain't done, there's 55 levels. So probably got just over halfway through this game. But it does get really hard after sort of level 22. But it is a brilliant game. There's so much humour to this. And a must for Super Nintendo collection. And then we have Zelda, Link to the Past, which is an absolute classic. If you haven't played this, you must. It's brilliant. It's Nintendo at its best. It was probably one of my favourite Zeldas of all time until I played Breath of the Wild. But even that's saying something, because you know, I think all Zelda games are brilliant except Zelda 2. I don't think that was that great at all. But this is an absolute classic, guys. If you don't know what it's about, then you must just go and play, because it is brilliant. So, a bit more ice cream before we go on to... Oh, that's great when the toffee melts in with the ice cream. It's so good. We're going to go on to my games that are showcased now on the bottom 4 shelves here. So some real good ones coming up. I've saved the best till the last. Right guys, we're on to the final part of this video, and these are some of my favourite games on the system, and I've saved them till last, not on purpose, but it's just the way I've sort of worked my way down through my shelf, because I normally display these on the bottom 2 shelves here, because I like to see the box art as I walk in the games room, and there's some of my best games. They really are cool. So first up is Space Megaforce, or Super LS as it's known on the Famicom region, Japanese region. This is an absolutely brilliant shooter, and people that say, you know, Super Nintendo's got to slow down, none of the shooters are any good, this is a fine example of a game that is just absolutely brilliant. It really is. It suffers no slowdown. It rewards good gameplay. It's got brilliant music. It's just a real gem of a game. It really is a real pleasure to play. I absolutely love this game. I go back to a hell of a lot. Chrono Trigger, picked this up in Atlanta when I was in America, of Captain Retro. Absolutely love this game. I've only played a few hours into it, but the storyline draws you in right from the start. It's a fantastic RPG with a great storyline. I can't wait to go back to this. And look at that box art, guys. Absolutely fantastic. Next up, this is Render and Ranger R2. This is actually a fan-based made game for the collectors of the North American cartridges. This was only released in Japan, and they only made 5,000 copies. The people behind Turricane. So it's a brilliant game, guys, and one of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo. I only recently discovered it this year. So it's kind of like a love child of Contra 3 and Gradius. So you've got really cool side-scrolling action sequences, and then it goes into sort of a shmup, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. It's just absolutely brilliant with rendering graphics like Donkey Kong Country. It looks incredible, and this should have been on like a Sega Saturn or something. It looks that good. It really is, and plays brilliantly as well, although it is notoriously known to be rock hard. But if you play it on easy and you put yourself in 7 lives, you'll get, you know, probably halfway through the game, which is not bad. Next up is this is my favourite wrestling game on the Super Nintendo. It's Saturday Night Slam Masters. God, there's so much flair and showbiz to this game. How can you not love this? It's absolutely brilliant. It's a 4-player wrestling game, up to 4 players. The characters are brilliant. I just absolutely love it. It's so much fun playing this with a mate. It's so cool. This is one of my favourite Super Nintendo games, actually. It's so much fun. Pocky and Rocky, which is, again, one of my favourite Super Nintendo games. This is a multi-directional shooter with kind of cutie graphics. So, yeah, if you see the cover, most people think it's some ordinary platform game, but it's not. It's a multi-directional shooter with some brilliant end-of-level bosses. The animations in it are so well done, guys, honestly, and the music. It's got very Japanese ancient Japanese feel about the game. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's got an arcade feel about it, so you can just pick up and play, and you're straight in the game. You know, it's just absolutely brilliant. And then I've got Pocky and Rocky 2, which is quite a rare game. This took me about a year to find this game boxed. When I picked it up, it was missing a manual. I eventually found a manual about 3 months later, so now this is boxed complete. And I really wanted this because I loved the first game, and this didn't disappoint. It's the same as the first, but you've got a lot more freedom. There's more RPG elements, more pickups, more options of what you can buy. It's just a brilliant game, absolutely fantastic game, and look at that, guys. Some of the best box art ever seen on the Super Nintendo. One of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo, it really is. I don't know, I've got so many, because there is so many. Flashback, which I actually played on the Mega Drive. I haven't played the Super Nintendo version yet, but it is a classic platforming game. Super Mario World, I've got the Black Label version, which is quite hard to find because obviously Super Mario World was boxed with the console in North America. So I guess they didn't see any reason to sell this separately. So this is a really hard game to find. It took me about a year to find this in this condition. Again, it is, for me, it is one of the best Super Mario games. It's absolutely brilliant. Shadowrun, I finished back in the day. A cyberpunk world RPG, just full of atmosphere with some fantastic characters. An absolute pleasure to play this game. It really is classic, absolute classic. Batman Returns, side-scrolling beat 'em up at its best. Konami at its best. One of the best side-scrolling beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. A must-own for your collection. Super Bonk. I think this is a port from the PC Engine. This is a really odd, quirky platforming game, but it is really, really good. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun, guys. Definitely pick this up. Pilot Wings. Probably one of my favourite Pilot Wings, except for the DS version. That's really good. But I played this a lot back in the day. It's a really, really good game. So you get to the helicopter mode, and then it gets ridiculously hard. But other than that, this game is absolutely brilliant. Phantom 2040, which is an underrated game, plays very similar to Metroid, so it's got that kind of exploration like Metroid has. It's got a fantastic storyline, a real underrated gem, this game. Contra 3, Alien Wars, had this back in the day, played it to death for my brother. It is a classic action run and gun game with fantastic Mode 7 levels. A lot of people didn't like Mode 7, I did, I thought it was brilliant. The end of level bosses, some of the best on the Super Nintendo. It's a classic, a must have for your collection. King of Dragons, another excellent side scrolling beat 'em up. It's got the kind of Dungeons and Dragons feel about it, with all the creatures from Dungeons and Dragons, you know, the kobolds, the ogres, the orcs. You've got 4 characters to choose from: a cleric, a knight, a fighter. It's just a brilliant side-scrolling beat 'em up. Sunset Riders, one of my favourite side-scrolling run and gun games, with a western theme. Quite camp characters, but a colourful feel, a lot of fun, great music. A must for your collection, guys. These are all must for your collection, they really are. Next up is Punch Out, another classic. I love the arcade version, and this is quite similar because it's got that wireframe character that you had in Super Punch Out on the arcade. A lot of fun. Still go back and play this game, enjoy it so much. Weapon Lord, I don't know how this one got down into this bunch of games, but not very good at all. In fact, I found this an absolute pile of dog shit. It's shit. Absolute rubbish. Next up is Wild Guns. This is a really, really good crosshair kind of action, what do you say? It's not an action fighter, it's action shooter. You've got a crosshair. You've got 2 characters you can choose between. You can play two players. It's got kind of a, it's set in a Western theme, but it's got a futuristic theme as well. So there's like robot cowboys as well that you've got to shoot. It's just a brilliant game. I know it's got a hefty price tag, this game, but it's a good game. It really is, and so happy to have this in the collection. It's so cool. That's Wild Guns. Rock and Roll Racing, favourite of mine. Had this back in the day. I absolutely loved it. The music's brilliant because I'm an old rock and roller. So you've got, you know, Bad to the Bone on here and Black Sabbath. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's kind of like a isometric racer where you can get upgrades for your vehicle, engines, tyres, weaponry, and just battling it out with your best mate or your brother, whatever. It's a lot of fun and great music as well. Demon's Crest, action platformer with a little bit of RPG elements to it, with some Mode 7 going on. It's just a beautiful game. Again, it's quite similar to ActRaiser. It's got that ActRaiser feel about it. But I haven't finished this. It does get quite hard, but it's a really good game. And look at the box art, guys. Man, is that beautiful? It's got the gargoyle out of Ghosts and Ghouls. So I think it's like a spin-off from Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts. And last but not least, this is the last game. It's UN Squadron, or Area 88, I think it is, on the Super Famicom. This is a brilliant arcade port. It's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up basically, which just looks stunning with some amazing parallax scrolling. Great end-of-level bosses. It's quite hard, but it's fair. You know, it's not punishing. It's just a great game, guys. UN Squadron is a great arcade port, and again, it's Capcom at its best. Really, really cool. So that's it, guys. I think there's about 150 games there, and that's not even including my Super Famicom games, which I've probably got about 50 of. But I'll have to wait to do that in another video. It's just too much. This is probably an hour long now. I've gone on far too long. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Now, this is probably my last Super Nintendo video of this year. Obviously, because I'm moving out, I've got a lot to prepare. But I do plan to come back. I will definitely be back with more videos because this is my hobby. I enjoy doing this. And next year I had plans to build up the Super Nintendo collection even bigger. Probably buy more loose carts actually as well. I'm even thinking of maybe going for a complete North American collection. But I mean, that's a big ask. That's quite a lot. I guess that would have to be 2/3 loose because I couldn't afford all boxed. Still carry on picking up the boxed games if they come up cheap. But I do enjoy collecting for the system, so why stop, you know? So you couldn't always, it's nice to have a goal, isn't it? Whether I get there or not is another thing, but we'll have to just wait and see. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a long one. I hope you haven't fallen asleep. But I thought I'd get it out there. I haven't done one. A lot of people have asked for this, so here it is. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.